I was gobsmacked, to be honest. 7 changes by Rassie Erasmus, but he clearly drew a line in the sand as far as the team was concerned. He said, we are going to change our style.
What we've seen from the Wallabies so far is that they've got this courage or something within them that's enabled them to come back from deficits.
I watched the rugby league game between the Raiders and the Broncos, and everyone in the crowd knew exactly what was happening with the referee decisions. And that's where rugby is very confusing.
DSPN, the Devlin Sports Podcast Network.
Well, as we sift through the wreckage of Saturday night in Wellington, we're now confronted with the next challenge for the All Blacks, which is to retain the Bledisloe Cup. That becomes the priority. Win that, and things are getting back onto an even keel. Lose, and the bells will really be ringing. What may have escaped the attentions of Kiwi rugby fans is that after 3 rounds, the leaders of the Rugby Championship are, in fact, the Wallabies. Just by 1 bonus point, but still 2/3 of the way through, with 2 tests in South Africa behind them and 2 at home against the Pumas. They have the same 2-2 record as everyone else, just coming up short in another late surge against the Pumas, but a bonus point to take them to the top of the table, and that means that the Bledisloe Cup could possibly determine the fate of the championship as well. To join us to talk about that, the voice of Australian rugby, Gordon Bray. Thanks for joining us, mate. Firstly, what would mean most to Australian rugby? Would it be the Rugby Championship or would it be the Bledisloe Cup?
Great to be with you, TJ, and we've got a lovely sunny day here in Sydney. There's only one answer to that question, and you know what it is. It's the Bledisloe Cup. It's been an Achilles heel for us for too long, over 2 decades, and the Eden Park hoodoo, I think I called our last victory there in 1986 in that Bledisloe series, so that's the one that really irks, and we've got to shake the monkey.
Do you think this is the game that above all Joe Schmidt will have been targeting? This is the one that's kept him up latest at night over the last few months?
I'm not so sure. I think the whole philosophy of Joe Schmidt is not to place too much emphasis on any particular game. I think it's about winning the match at hand, and maybe there wasn't enough emphasis in that regard for this match against Argentina last weekend. But no special attention for this game. I think you just treat it as any other game. It's a rugby field, sure. There'll be 95% All Black support there. But there's a new blood in the Australian team, and I think they want to not take any baggage in as far as that's concerned.
Obviously want to talk about the Wallabies in depth with you, but I would like to get your thoughts on what you saw over the last 2 weeks, really, with the All Blacks edging that narrow win at Eden Park and then getting absolutely thumped by a record margin at Wellington at the weekend. What did you make of it?
Well, I was gobsmacked, to be honest. 7 changes by Rassie Erasmus. But he clearly drew a line in the sand as far as the team was concerned. He said, we are going to change our style. I mean, you've had the bomb squad coming on and one back on the bench. Here he went for a conventional bench, and just as well, because he had a lot of injuries in the backs in the first half. But that was a sensational performance by the Springboks. No other team in the world could have stayed with them. And although the backs did make mistakes and didn't finish, they just kept coming. Just amazing the way they were able to take advantage, show their skill, show their speed. And that forward pack of South Africa, by God, they were like hurtling rockets, and they never stopped, with Visa leading the way. It was a phenomenal performance by South Africa.
So where does this leave the Rugby Championship in your mind? Because you've been following it ever since it started. We've never had it so even, so evenly contested, and with a situation where no one seems to be able to win games back to back.
It's just amazing, isn't it? This is the best rugby championship we've had. Australia certainly helped that cause with that win at Ellis Park. Their first there since 1963. That was not expected. But there's a newfound belief in the Wallaby team. The Argentinians also are a top-class side, there's no doubt about it. They play with great passion. They play with a lot of skill, and Contepomi is a brilliant coach. The All Blacks, when you think about it, they led at half-time on Saturday. Even at the 60-minute mark, they were still well and truly in the game. And had they finished better, finished off some of their scoring opportunities, they could well have been in front at the 60-minute mark. But I think as Justin Marshall intimated in the commentary, the writing was on the wall. The Springboks kept coming, and those young backs kept running and passing and supporting, and in the end the dam cracked and broke. And
What we've seen from the Wallabies so far is that they've got this courage or something within them that's enabled them to come back from deficits. Okay, it was a bridge too far on Saturday, but does that say something to you about the spirit in this team, the conviction in this team that's built up under this coaching staff, that even when they fall behind, there's something in them that enables them to come back and, if not win the game, at least make a hell of a tight finish out of it?
It's the old Anzac spirit, I think, TJ. The old Aussie diggers have come to the fore, and it's been led by the younger guys. Harry Wilson as captain, Fraser McWright, Nick Frost, who didn't play, who I believe should have played on the weekend. But certainly that was the one positive that came out of the game for me, the fact that Australia was able to fight their way back into the contest when they were down by such a huge margin. I think it was 28-7, with about 15 minutes to go. And it really made a mockery, I think, of Australia's performance to that point, because when they did hold on to the ball and played some rugby, they were able to score tries. And I think Joe Schmidt made a big gamble in playing Ed Med at 10 and also Hunter Paisami at 12, two new crucial players in that 10-12 axis. It was a gamble. I think his argument was that we have to see how these guys go. We've got to have one eye on the World Cup. But you could also argue that Australia had to win that game, and it was a golden opportunity to cement all the momentum in front of 42,000 fans that has been gained so far in the championship. But to your point, certainly there's a great fighting spirit in this Wallaby team, and they just can't keep coming from behind like that. I mean, they almost snatched what would have been an undeserved victory. Argentina with a better team on the day.
That number 10 jersey has been a problematic one. What do you think he'll do for Auckland? Because he gave Ed Med a chance, and we love him over here after the way he played for North Harbour and the NPC last year, but obviously it's a big step up for a guy like that to go into Test rugby. And he had a kick charge down, which I guess was part of that bad start that Australia made to the game. So what do you think he does for Eden Park? Does he go, all right, I'm going to give him another shot, I'm going to try someone else, maybe go back to O'Connor? What's the plan there, do you think?
It's very interesting listening to the players, and Tate McDermott was quite vocal after the game when he was interviewed. He said, really, Australia played poorly in that first half. Clunky, the back line. The wingers never saw the ball. You've got Jorgensen, who's, I think, developing into a world-class player. Corey Toole is a real speedster, a very clever player. He had an off day, but didn't really get the ball in attack. So I think the players would like to see James O'Connor at number 10, but I think Joe Smith's got to make that decision. Do we start with O'Connor and maybe Ed Med come off the bench? You've also got Tom Liner and Ben Donaldson, who were both at the game. I saw them in their Wallaby uniforms, so they're also there if needed. It is a problem area for Australia, but this will be a crunch game against New Zealand. Look, I wouldn't be surprised if he sticks with Ed Med and backs the young guy. He is solid. He's very committed. He made some errors, a real kick in the guts with that charge down kick. So I wouldn't be surprised there. I think maybe for me the big mistake was not playing Ikitau at number 12. He's an outstanding player. He's been one of the Wallabies' best. And Paisami coming in just didn't live up to the requirements on the day for mine. He lost the ball a few times, and he's not a ball-playing number 12 like Ikitau. When you think about the game in Townsville, Ikitau gave the final pass for two of those comeback tries by the Wallabies. He's a class act, and I think he was sorely missed. And that probably didn't help Ed Med as well.
The other big question mark that's been hanging over the team this year has been selection of overseas players. Now, Rugby Australia have said the Giteau law no longer exists, that the coach is free to pick players from wherever he wants in the world, whenever he wants, and that saw Will Skelton available, played against the Lions, and to great effect, played in South Africa. Is he going to be able to come back and play in this Bledisloe Cup, because he does seem to make a difference. But B, is this the downside of having this ability of the coach to select a player from overseas, the uncertainty that it creates both within the framework of the team and maybe amongst the individual players sort of not going, am I playing this week, or is he back, etc.? Do you think there's a bit of an issue there?
I think there is a little bit of an issue there, and it's more a frustration. It's a frustration with players who haven't been selected to start, and I could see the frustration coming from Tate McDermott. But I think South Africa has handled that situation pretty well. Their players come from all over the world, but they come into camp, and Rassie Erasmus seems to be able to keep them there and hold on to them and allow them to play. So there's a lot of negotiation going on, I believe, with La Rochelle, with Ronan O'Gara, and also Jeff Parling at the moment, to see whether O'Connor stays for the Bledisloe Cup and whether Skelton will come back. I don't think Skelton will be back for Eden Park, but the talk is that he will come back for the match in Perth, which could be a real decider. And in fact, that last round of the Rugby Championship, TJ, you'll be calling some of those games, will be just amazing. But it's just been a sensational championship so far.
Oh, absolutely. Look, Gordon, amongst the many strings to your bow as having been a player and, of course, a great commentator, but you've also been a rugby referee. And I just want to ask you a couple of things about refereeing, because I know it's something that you look at quite closely when you're following the game. Firstly, there's been a lot of complaining, and I know that during the game people were talking about the fact that Harry Wilson was getting in the referee's ear quite a lot. Contempomi's absolutely had a blow-up after the first test match. I mean, the pressure that's being put on the referees at the moment, do you think it's sort of got to the point where something has to be done about it?
Definitely. I think what the players want and what the coaches want is consistency of interpretation. And on Saturday we had Christoph Ridley, the Englishman, who I would describe as a pedantic referee. I mean, he refereed to the letter of the law, and you'd say 95% of the time I think he was spot on. But you get these situations where Australia was penalised 2 or 3 times for being a little bit slow to get up and get back on side. In those situations, I think it can be managed. George Gregan was a past master when someone was slow getting back on side, of running into them or passing the ball into them. And in fact, he was penalised for doing that, I guess against the spirit of the game. So I think better management and maybe not too quick to blow the whistle would have helped the situation on Saturday. You had a 42,000 crowd and there were so many decisions made. As I say, probably 95% were correct, but the crowd had no idea what was going on. I mean, I watched the rugby league game between the Raiders and the Broncos, and everyone in the crowd knew exactly what was happening with the referee decisions. And that's where rugby is very confusing. And it was frustrating for Harry Wilson. I think he lost his cool, he got rattled. You want consistency from the referees. Different referee, you probably get different interpretations. So that's something that really has to be addressed. We want an even playing field for all the teams, and we want consistency of interpretation.
Well, finally, Gordon, I know from listening to your calling games over the years, no one's ever had a more fair and unbiased approach and level-headed approach to calling an international rugby match than you have, but you can sit back now and as a dinky-die Australian, you can give us what you think about the outcome at Eden Park. Do you think this is the chance for the first time since, 1986, for the Wallabies to win at Eden Park, and for the first time since 2003 for Australia to win back the Bledisloe Cup? How do you see it happening?
Well, I don't think South Africa has done the Wallabies any favours, to be honest. The All Blacks were below their best in terms of accuracy, and they were blown away by South Africa. I'd never seen a New Zealand team concede tries the way they did in the last 10 minutes. That's just not New Zealand rugby, but that says something about the overwhelming attitude and self-possessed intensity of the Springbok team. So for Australia, we've got to pick our best team, clearly. We've got to pick the team to win the game. There'll be no Skelton there. Nick Frost will come back in. We've got to get the number 10 situation right. Frankly, I would be inclined to start James O'Connor if he's still around, but Australia will go away now, they'll rest, they'll lick their wounds. They realise that they need to be a lot better in terms of their discipline, because that's hurt them. I think, 7 penalties in the game, 4 penalty goals to Argentina in the first half, 3 penalty goals in the first half in Townsville. Argentina don't go for the line out, they kick the 3 points, and when you've got a guy like Carreras, it certainly made the difference on the scoreboard in the end. So Australia will back themselves, TJ, there's no doubt about that, but we haven't won there for a long time. In fact, no team has won there since 1994, it is, I think, against the French. But we'll be going in there to back ourselves, and it hopefully will be a tremendous game. But I think New Zealand, although they were well and truly beaten, they'll be back with a vengeance, and they'll be able to right the wrong from last weekend.
DSPN.